Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, 10 Steps to a Successful Cloud Migration, hosted by yours truly, Ellsworth Anthony here, Director of Technology at DSolution. So I put this webinar together just to really give those of you that are looking or considering moving any aspect of your network or applications to the cloud, some basic 10 steps that we feel are the ideal focus to getting a cloud migration done in a seamless manner, as seamless as possible anyway. It is no simple task, but we feel that these 10 steps will definitely assist in your cloud migration process. So let's not waste any time. I know a lot of you have a lot of things to do. You have busy schedules, so let's just dive into it. So let's just go over the agenda real quickly here. The first part of what we're doing is determining the goals, the why behind your decision to move to the cloud. 2, you'll be looking at the current situation, an assessment of your current situation and what can be moved to the cloud. 3, your migration partner, what partner is best suited for your migration. 4, making that compelling case to convince yourself or your company on why moving to the cloud is a viable next step. And 5, the type of environments that you'll be looking at, different various cloud environments. So a quick overview of the various layers, or not layers, I should say environments, cloud environments that are at your disposal. 6, the necessary components. So basically, what components will be essential to your cloud success. 7, choosing your provider, deciding on which partner is best suited after understanding all your requirements. And then number 8, one of the most important, your service level agreements, what you should be attentive to when reviewing your SLA. Then 9, the execution, the final phase of deploying. And then 10, the monitoring of, basically what tools are important factor in your cloud environment. And then we'll just finish up with some closing comments. Those of you that are on this recording will be able to get the recording, I should say, sorry, after this is done, so you'll be able to review this at your leisure should you need to. So let's dive into it. So number 1, determining your goals. This is really determining your goals of migrating to the cloud. Well, the very first question you should be asking yourself is, why does my business want or need to migrate to the cloud? A cloud migration is no easy exercise, and you really need to understand and lay out exactly why moving your IT infrastructure to the cloud is the right thing to do. Determining the goals of migrating to the cloud is the absolute first step you should take. There are certain questions you can throw at yourself, or that we feel that you should know, is like, do you need to? What are your factors of why you're moving to the cloud? Do you need to lower your IT costs? Are your competitors, beating you to the market, so you need to increase more or less your agility? Is the security level of your IT infrastructure too difficult to maintain? And those of you that have worked with DSolution know that we focus on a big portion of our company focuses on IT security. Outlining your goals, your objectives will help everyone involved and understand the vision of why you want to migrate your IT operations to the cloud, and really how your company can benefit. So step 2, your assessment. So the current situation. Let's assess your current situation. Really take a really deep dive as to why you're doing this. A thorough assessment of your current situation is quite imperative, as I was just saying. It will really lay out the foundation for many important decisions that you're going to need to make. A deep understanding of what applications you need to migrate to the cloud, your current IT environment, and the present level of resources and costs will help you make informed choices. Here are some key points you should assess. So, A, decide what applications should be migrated. While cloud computing can bring, a myriad of benefits to an organization, not every software application or IT environment is a good fit for the cloud. Maybe you have an older legacy CRM system that wasn't built with the portability that is necessary for migrating to the cloud. There can be a few reasons why the cloud might not be the best fit for your application. As a great cloud computing is, how cloud computing is, it may not always be the best fit for every application your company uses. So before taking that migration plunge, make sure you identify which applications are best prepared for migrating and focus on those first. 2, audit your current infrastructure. Once you've decided which applications are the right choices to be migrated, the next thing you should do is perform an audit of your current infrastructure to get a better idea of the scope and scale of the migration. Some of the factors you should that you should really include are, what is your current level of storage you're using, and what type of storage do you use? How much data do you create and store on a daily, monthly, yearly basis, and how fast is that growing? What type of databases do you employ? What does your networking environment look like? What kinds of analytics programs do you currently use? These are all factors that you really need to consider before taking that plunge. So, performing a really thorough audit of your current infrastructure will allow you to better understand what needs to be migrated and the best way to do so. Sorry about that. So C, is really looking at an understanding of the current costs of what you're looking at. After performing your infrastructure audit, you really should then understand what kind of costs are associated to it. So a thorough analysis of current costs and resource levels will definitely help identify inefficiencies, locate areas of improvement, and give you a baseline for comparison. Step 3, migration partner. Selecting a partner can actually happen at any time being necessary, depending on your capabilities and obviously your availability. If at any point you realize you don't have the resources or know how to perform some of the required assessments and properly execute the migration strategy, selecting a trusted cloud partner very early in the process can be a difference between a successful migration and a complete disaster. A strong partner can help you properly perform important analyses, craft a solid cloud migration strategy, select the right technologies, and deliver a seamless migration while saving you money and lots of stress. So there are some factors to consider when selecting the right cloud partner. You certainly want to partner with somebody who has enough cloud migration experience, but what may be more important is finding a firm that has executed projects for clients in similar situations as you are. If you're looking to migrate to a hybrid cloud where your infrastructure is a mix of on-premise, private, and public cloud services, and we'll dive into this a little further down, you'll want to make sure your migration partner has experience setting up these types of complex environments. If you have high transaction applications that all need to be moved to the public cloud, a company that has experience only with lower volume applications might not be the best fit. And if you have to migrate large amounts of data to the cloud, you'll need to find a partner who is well-versed in data batching, replication, and backup. A lot of experience is great, but experience with projects of similar scope and scale as yours will definitely will definitely be an advantage here. So 2, the types of clients that your partner that you're considering has worked with. You should seek out a partner who has experience working with clients who are similar in size and comparable industries as your company. Large companies function very differently than smaller companies. Partners may work differently with organizations of different sizes, and this may become evident during your cloud migration process. For large companies, they may need to migrate the infrastructure and data of many departments, and more comprehensive approach may be required at this point. For smaller companies, they may require more budget oversight and have different processes and priorities. So finding a partner that fits your company, how they operate will be very helpful in this case. So C, this certifications. When it comes to certifications, it's almost like that stamp of approval. So when you're mapping out your cloud migration strategy, you may have an idea of what cloud provider you'll use, but in this case, you'll want to see if your potential migration consultant is a certified partner. I'll put in a shameless plug. We actually work with, we are a certified partner of SureWeb and Stack Harbor Technologies. So we have the experience behind us with those type of third parties that we work with to deliver on those bases. Some of the companies that you're already familiar with, like the Amazons of the world, Azure, those guys already have basic consultants that they leverage, and you should obviously, because of their platform, that's the premise of their business, they also have the necessary certifications to do this. It all depends on the type of service level that you're looking to acquire. So step 4, probably one of the most important steps is the business case, creating your business case for the cloud. So let's not make any mistake about it. A cloud migration is a big undertaking. And while it will certainly improve your business and technical operations, it can be a very disruptive process. So you'll need to build a business case to ensure that it's the right thing for your business, or in the case you are not the sole decision maker, you need to get absolute buy-in from management. So the first step really is to elaborate on the goals of migrating to the cloud that we've identified in our step 1, and really perform an honest, objective analysis on the benefits you'll gain from migrating to the cloud. For instance, if you're looking at a cost savings as a primary benefit to your organization, you should come up with a financial model that A, outlines all the current costs, including cost of hardware, software, real estate, staffing, and any others, to really help maintain your data centers. 2, be able to identify each line item that can be impacted by cloud migration and where the savings will come from. 3, I need to identify your competitive reasons for migrating to the cloud. You should perform, in our opinion, a SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, as a thorough assessment of your competition in order to pinpoint the areas of where the cloud can really help your company. You should also be honest in identifying the possible cons of migrating to the cloud. Some business units may be negatively impacted during and after migration, so those drawbacks should be identified so you can prepare for them. There will certainly be costs involved in cloud migration, such as consulting fees, costs for additional technology resources, and opportunity costs. These points should be thoroughly assessed. Thinking through all of these aspects, your business probably be both positively and negatively impacted, will allow you really to achieve not only buy-in from those involved, but allow you to make sound decisions and envision any roadblocks that may come your way. So, number 5, this is the types of environments. Selecting that type of cloud environment that is needed for your cloud migration. So there's public, private, and hybrid clouds. So let's suppose you've built your business case for performing a cloud migration, successfully secured buy-in from your team to move ahead. Now it's time to get into really the nitty-gritty details of the cloud environment you're going to need to achieve your goals. So the situation assessment you would have performed in our step 2 will really help you map out the requirements necessary and select the optimal cloud environment for your company. The first decision to make is whether you'll use a public cloud, private cloud, or hybrid cloud. So let's dive into the pros and cons of each. We'll address public, private, and hybrid in its current forms. So we'll first address the public cloud. So public clouds are those provided by companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft Azure, and others such as ourselves, as I alluded to before. So in public cloud, the technology infrastructure is shared among many companies and is available on demand. Public clouds provide a high flexible environment that you can customize for your needs, and you can also scale up and down as you see fit, and only pay for the resources that you use. They're typically very easy to set up, cost-effective, very reliable. But some of the knocks, let's just go on some of the. Then some of the knocks of the public cloud are you have less control over your data and servers because they are operated by a third party. You may be susceptible to a vendor lock-in, where it may be difficult to move your data and servers if you decide to change from public cloud provider to a more back to an on-premise type of infrastructure. And we'll deal with that aspect in our SLA a little later on. Some of the servers that you deploy may reside in foreign countries, and thus the regulations on data security may differ and not meet your privacy or standard requirements. So there's obviously differences between operating a data center in the United States versus Canada or in Europe. So because of step 3, which I just mentioned, the public cloud may not be a fit for some highly regulated industries such as financial services and healthcare. So take that into consideration when you're looking at public clouds. So let's dive into the private clouds. So let's look at the pros and cons of those. The primary difference between public and private cloud services is that private cloud infrastructure can only be accessed by a single client. So instead of thousands of companies, it's single client. Private clouds are either maintained on-site or at a third-party data center. Companies who use private clouds can still work with third parties to set up a custom cloud environment and really help them with oversight and maintenance, but only they will have access to their servers. The key benefits of using the private cloud is a higher level of security over data and increased control of the servers and databases that house the data. Organizations with sensitive data and who are subject to strict regulations, such as healthcare companies or banks, can use private cloud to store customer information with obviously peace of mind, given the fact that it's obviously in your premises or secluded outside everybody else. Not only that, but they will also have complete control over where their data is stored and who has access. So this diminishes the probability of a security breach. Private cloud services also give companies much more control over infrastructure, allowing companies to better personalize the storage and networking components really to their liking. The cons include, higher upfront costs due to increased levels of customization, more difficulty accessing data from remote locations, and more money, time, and expertise needed to set up and maintain private cloud environment. So let's jump to the hybrid cloud, which I think a lot of people may consider depending on their focus, but this seems to be the popular choice, so to speak. The hybrid cloud really brings together the best of both public, private, into one solution. The type of environment enables companies to mix and match elements to take advantage of scalability, convenience, and cost effectiveness of the public cloud and the security and control of private cloud. For example, a financial and services firm may choose to store their sensitive customer data such as credit card or bank accounts or somebody's retirement plan information in a private cloud, while using public cloud components to store less sensitive content such as marketing materials, sales collateral, anything that really doesn't require much scrutiny. The most important benefit of hybrid cloud is the flexibility, the customizability of a solution that will fit your exact needs. Because you can pick and choose components from both public and private cloud offerings, you can find the ideal balance of cost, security, and scalability. So step 6, determining the specific cloud components necessary for your cloud environment. So once you've selected whether your company will use public, private, or hybrid cloud, you'll have to determine the specific infrastructure components you'll need to maintain and improve upon your current IT and performance. Think about the apps that you are migrating, the core components of your current infrastructure, and the role they're going to play in delivering those apps, and how your company or how you can improve upon your current level of performance. So what level of computing power will you need? Do you require load balancing? Will you deliver a lot of the content, and do you need to deliver it fast? Where are your customers, and how are they distributed across your networks, your LANs, even the world? These are all factors you need to consider. These are just a few questions I'm bringing to your attention here, but give you a real perspective of really have a laundry list of components you'll need. And the priority of each component will be very important to the success of your cloud migration. So choosing your provider, choosing the right cloud provider. After understanding exactly what you need, you can select the cloud provider that will best accommodate those requirements. So which cloud service company provides all the components you need and perform well in the primary objectives you're trying to achieve? There are certainly other factors to take into account. You have to build a level of trust with your provider, ensure their technology is sound, determine the level of customer service they can provide, and make sure they can live up to their service level agreement. It may take some time and energy to perform research on multiple cloud providers, but I assure you this is an important step. Service level agreement, step 8. This is really your safety net. In some sense, the SLA sets expectations for both parties and acts as a roadmap for change in the cloud service, both expected changes and surprises. Just as any IT project would have a roadmap with clearly defined deliverables, an SLA is equally critical for working with cloud infrastructure. That raises the next question I have. What should be in your SLA? Well, based on some of the experiences that we've had, there may be some points that you feel that are missing, but here are some of the primary ones that we felt were very important. The availability. Does your provider guarantees, for example, some level of availability of 99.9% uptime during workdays and weekends and nights? You'll be surprised that that is not across the board. Performance. What are the maximum response times? Given the type of applications you're going to be running in the environment or the network availability, you need to be able to have the optimal performance. What is stated? What do they guarantee as a certain performance into their environment? Then there's disaster recovery expectations. The worst case recovery commitment should your data be somehow compromised. Are there mirrored sites to the data center? Is there mitigation for the data centers should they go down? So these are all things that need to be outlined in your SLA. Then there's the location of data. As we mentioned, and we were reviewing the different pros and cons of each of the different various cloud environments, public, private, or hybrid. Location of data could be important, especially for those of us in Canada. This may play a very particular role, as access to data is somewhat more protected from government agencies than that of the United States. We're seeing an influx of American companies wanting to host their data in Canada just because of the more hoops that the government agencies have to go through in order to get access to that data, where it's part of the act. I apologize, I'm losing the name here, but the Patriot Act in the United States that gives them pretty much any access to data that they see fit. Then there's a portability location. We went over that. The portability of data. So who owns the data? Do you have the ability to move the data to a different provider without any red tape? You know, you need to then ask your provider, if once you put your data on your information on in their data center, who owns it? Do they own it or do you own it? I know it seems a pretty obvious, you know, answer that it should be your data, but that's not always the case. And speaking with some clients of ours, they've gone through some pretty horrific stories where they wanted to port their information or their data somewhere else, and the provider didn't allow them because they felt that it was on their, they have in their terms and conditions that the data does belong to them because it's on their data center. It's being hosted in their data center. So that's not the case for everyone, but you need to take particular notice of that when you're looking at safeguarding your data's information. Then there's a process and resolution expectations. In plain English, what will the call center address and what are their hours of operation? Then there's the change management process. You know, changes, updates, new services. How often are they done and who performs them? And how often are you privy to those changes? Then there's the dispute mediation process. You know, let's try to identify what the clear definition of how the escalation process or consequences are outlined. You know, you need to be able to resolve an issue quickly given that your company is running their data on their data centers. You're expecting a certain level of efficiency. If that is compromised, your business loses. And then there's the exit strategy. You know, with expectations, the provider will ensure a smooth transition. So as we were alluding to in the portability of data, should you want to move, there should be no issues in moving your data to another provider or back to on-premise should you see fit. Okay. So hopefully you can get, or you agree that the SLA is required for a cloud service and is for the benefit of both the consumer and the provider. In the long run, it will save both parties money and drive satisfaction for not only the parties directly involved, but more importantly, for the end users. So step 9, execute the migration. So let's assume you're done planning, you have your strategies, timelines, and roles all set, and you know exactly what you need to do. It's really now time to venture forward. No matter what order you choose to migrate, you will need to spend time configuring your servers, databases, and applications to fit with the new cloud infrastructure. The final step of the migration execution process is validating that everything works as expected. You should test that all your data is present and secure. End users of the migrated application should thoroughly test that all functionality works as expected. If there were any issues that were uncovered during the migration, now is the time to address and document them to prepare for future migrations. Now is also a good time to make the necessary changes to the product environment to achieve top performance. This may include editing users and permissions, balancing loads, increasing security, and anything more that you deem necessary. All these improvements should be thoroughly tested before you sign off on it. And number 10, last step, after a successful migration, tools and processes should be implemented to monitor the new cloud environment. Monitoring tools should be implemented to help you identify and address any issues that arise with your cloud environment. It is strongly suggested that a formal issue track processing should be created to ensure that everyone impacted by the migration has a way to report the problems and that IT has a simple way to manage all the requests. I cannot stress how important this is to make your experience a pleasurable one. The monitoring tools, since a lot of your infrastructure is now in this new form, will require this. Just like you would have monitoring tools on your own environment, it is still required if you're moving to the cloud. So in conclusion, your business can definitely reap a myriad of benefits from migrating your IT infrastructure to the cloud. But it can at times be difficult. It can be a difficult process, I won't lie. But it doesn't have to be if you're armed with a solid plan and smart people to assist you. I'm really hoping this 10-step checklist will help you understand the true impact of migrating to the cloud, determine what you will need to perform this transition, and develop a clear migration plan and execute the migration as smoothly as possible. What you do think of this cloud migration steps and how we've left, and if we've left anything out, please let us know. We can only improve upon, based on your feedback. And if you'd like to chat about cloud computing needs, my contact information is here, as well as DSolution. Call me at my number provided, or you can visit our website. I really hope this was helpful. So with that in mind, like I said before, this recording will be available for you to review at your leisure. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call and ask. Thank you very much.